How does a real estate attorney help during a home purchase?
This is a good question. We get this a lot, right? Especially for people that are coming from out of South Florida, right? Because states like New Jersey, as an example, use attorneys more heavily in the transaction. Do you agree with that?
100%.
Yeah.
Typically, New York, New Jersey, Massachusetts, the whole Northeast will have an attorney for the seller, an attorney for the buyer, an attorney for the lender, and then sometimes even another closing attorney. So we see attorneys everywhere. It's an attorney state or states, yes.
Yeah. So here it's different. So, and maybe refine my communication on this, but usually when people ask me this question, I let them know, hey, it's not common in South Florida that a buyer and a seller hire an attorney to help facilitate the transaction. They utilize a title company that accounts for all funds, and then if something pops up during the transaction, then maybe they tag in the attorney. That's usually what happens here. But why don't you elaborate on
Sure.
what an attorney can do to help?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So you're correct, but just to clarify a little bit here, so let's call it the closing agent or settlement agent that's handling the transaction in Florida. Most of the time what you're alluding to is that there's only one law firm or title company, because either entity can do a closing, that's chosen to handle the whole transaction. And most of the time there are not multiple attorneys or title companies involved here. Some title companies are owned by attorneys and managed by attorneys, some are not. So that's a different topic for another time. But certainly we see that larger transactions, sometimes I'd say probably, if I had to rough it, maybe over $1 million. Even if, let's say, the seller is choosing the closing agent, whether that be a title company or a law firm, when they get to be a little pricier transactions, $1 million, $1.5 million, $2 million, then we do see it become more and more common that a buyer will get an attorney on their side to represent them because the stakes of the transaction are higher. When we're talking about a $500,000 condo or townhome, you're 100% correct. I agree with you. We don't do buyer representation too much on those types of deals. And then, again, not to add too much nuance here, but it kind of depends on the county. Palm Beach County, the tradition is that sellers choose the closing agent and pay for the title policy, whereas in Broward County and Miami-Dade County, it's the buyers that choose the settlement agent and pay for the title policy. So in Broward, let's say if a buyer's choosing the closing agent and paying for the policy, then the seller does have the option to hire their own attorney to do seller representation, whereas the opposite is true in Palm Beach, where if the seller is choosing the closing agent, then the buyer has the option to get their own buyer representation. Again, it's an option for every size and price of property, and it can be recommended depending on the complexity of the deal, the personality of the buyer. If the buyer is someone that really just wants to make sure that they can sleep well at night and they've got someone on their side, then I recommend getting an attorney, and I certainly recommend getting an attorney on larger deals as well.
Yeah, so the attorney thing can be frustrating on my end as a realtor sometimes if the attorney and or the buyer and or seller are not kind of on it. Mm-hmm. And what do I mean by that? So if you're going to hire attorneys to represent you, whether you're buyer or seller in this transaction, and you want them to review the purchase agreement, sometimes that creates a little bit of a problem because
a bottleneck.
Yes.
Yeah.
And what I say is time kills all deals. So if you get an offer on Friday evening and you cannot sign this offer till Tuesday, Wednesday, because the attorney got the offer. Doesn't work on weekends. Got the document on Monday morning. Didn't have time because he was in court all day. Now it's Tuesday. He reviews it and sends an email back. One, the buyer can get very frustrated. Usually the expiration on those offers are much shorter than that time frame. And so usually what I tell people is if you want representation, we just need to go over some ground rules around what's going to make this work well and not hurt you or inhibit your ability to sell at top dollar, because what might happen on the sell side is you lose that deal or people get frustrated.
Swoops in front of you who doesn't have attorney representation and doesn't need 3 or 4 days to have their attorney review the contract, and they're able to land that deal.
So usually it's hey, and you're really good about this. It's hey, these contracts are super standard. Mm-hmm. If there's something I want to add into these things, tell us as an attorney, tell us up front, tell us what you want in addition or what you want redlined if there are any things. But the standard contract,
it shouldn't take more than a half an hour to review that. I charge a half an hour fee for people to review these contracts, and I hop on a conference call with them, and I can book that in a matter of a few hours. I'm not going to take 3 to 4 days to book that that call and to review that. It's something that should be moved along very quickly. So make sure, I think what you're alluding to is if they are going to choose a real estate attorney, choose one that's very responsive, communicative, and that's on the ball.
And maybe just prepare in advance. If you want the attorney to go over the contract, I'll give you the contract now, right? I'll give you the contract before we even get an offer. Here's what it's going to look like. Do you have any concerns about this? Talk to your attorney. Feel comfortable. Get ahead of it. So that way when the offer comes in on Friday night and the guy says you'll have till 12 on Saturday to respond to this because he's super stressed out and doesn't want to get into a bidding war, yada, 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 and you're the seller and we really should take this. This is a sweet deal. I kind of artificially enhanced the value of this thing by making him think he needed to make a good offer. And if we wait till Tuesday, he's gone. It's like, hey, just get ahead of it. And then Friday night, you're like, hey, I read this. Same thing that I talked to Jerron about already. Yeah, we're ready to sign this thing. So like that's I think that's important on the listing side. Buy side, same thing. You just need to get educated before. Use them to educate you, to make you smart. Don't use them like, hey, I need this last minute review done at 6 p.m. on a strong property that I'm making an offer on. Like it
happens all the time to me too. I get it at 4:30, and listen, I will always do my best to accommodate. But
it's
I don't know why a buyer didn't reach out to me a day before to say, hey, this is coming. What is your price for this? And let's at least have that quick dialogue so that we're not behind the 8 ball. It's not something that I need to do in a matter of an hour.
Exactly.
Or I could book some time ahead of the game.
And that's just purchase contract stuff. Like when you're repping a buyer, you're reviewing all the other title work and everything else. So there is value. It will make you feel comfortable, but most people, specifically under $1 million, don't use it.